Hey everybody. All right, let's go and get started. So before I talk about today's, the title of my hundreds of past lives in literally 8 hours, just want to mention that, I recently just got out of the hospital. I went into anaphylactic shock a few days ago on Friday night. It's Monday now here in Tokyo. It's Monday here in Tokyo. Friday night, had some shrimp, had a bowl of shrimp. I'm not allergic to shrimp. I don't do too well with raw shrimp. It was cooked shrimp, so I didn't expect anything. Went into anaphylactic shock. Went to a really kind of traumatic slash intense experience for me and my family. Full body rash and itch, couldn't breathe. You know, getting rushed in an ambulance to the hospital, family in tow, and one of the things that ran through my mind while I was being stripped naked on the gurney and being pulled off and being stuck with needles and getting pumped full of different kinds of medication was the video I just did that day, that morning, Friday morning, which was about pain and suffering. And I talked about how suffering is a choice, right? Pain is what happens to you, but suffering is a choice, right? Pain comes and you can choose to resist it or to allow it to wash over you, go through you. Right? And I recalled, you know, my video, my preaching, my teaching, and that's exactly what I did. I chose not to suffer. I chose to allow every needle that went in my arm or in my groin, leg area, um, every every sensation from my chest and my throat seizing up, can't breathe, unable to breathe, from the itching, the severe itching, full body itching. Um, every sensation, every element of pain allowed it to wash over me. I didn't resist it. I stayed in the now. I stayed with the pain and allowed it to come and go, and let it run its course. And so this was a great way for me to, it was an unfortunate event, but a great way for me to actually practice what I preach, right? And it's true. If you just let it wash over you, right? Don't resist it. Let it happen. It will pass, and it did pass. And, you know, there wasn't any suffering. It was painful, but I didn't suffer. So I just wanted to say that before I get into today's live stream that, you really do choose suffering. Okay? Suffering doesn't happen to you. You choose it. Pain is what happens to you. All right. Now, with that said, I want to get into today's live stream content, which is really cool stuff. So, um, I call it, my simulation, dual earthly incarnation, earth realm revelation. And the core of it is about faith. So, I spent the entire night, this last night, right? This last night, Sunday night in Japan. I spent the entire night flipping through. I say flipping because it happens. There's so many, right? Hundreds of past slash parallel lives um, in present timelines and in alternative timelines and alternative, in a sense, futures. I don't like calling them futures, right? There really is no past, present, and future, but I say future only because there's a lot of sci-fi technology, things we don't have now. So I would think of it as a potential future, or in this timeline, or a alternative timeline where they're more advanced. So alternative futures with quotes there. You know, parallel lives in present and alternative futures, from poor to rich, casual, suburban, to fancy downtown, from working in medicine, right, working as like a medical professional, to working in espionage, riding futuristic city bikes in France, to my first day on the job taking, I'm sorry, yeah, first day, yeah, futuristic city bikes in France, to my first day on the job. Um, and also things like taking a taxi through violent neighborhoods, to the simulation, which I call the simulation endgame, right? This is the incarnation Earth endgame. Um, I saw futuristic urinals. This was interesting. I saw futuristic urinals where the porcelain, we have used porcelain in our timeline here, right? Porcelain, very common, the most common. I haven't really seen anything else. I guess metal maybe, but mainly porcelain, right? So futuristic urinals where the porcelain was replaced. Wasn't porcelain. It was replaced by some medium gray-ish. The color was medium gray, carbon fiber looking or plastic metallic looking material, um, with purple blue lines that sort of ran along the contoured shape that seemed to capture more urine. At least that was my guesstimate, right? I come from a design background. That was my guess on what it was probably used for. And there were also a couple purple blue dots towards the middle or bottom as well. And maybe that was more of a, sort of a nudge, kind of like they use little fly stickers now on the porcelain urinals to kind of psychologically nudge men to, you know to urinate in a certain direction, right? So they don't spray somewhere else, but to kind of aim in a certain direction, gives them a target, right? And there were these blue little purple dots, and I thought maybe that was more of like they kept that sort of that psychology, but kind of upgraded the design of it a little bit. Um, I could go on and on about all the different things that I saw and experienced, but the big takeaway is what I learned. Okay. And, one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason for faith is what I learned. Okay. I first stumbled upon this idea while in one of the multiple bursts of past parallel lives. So, this didn't happen in one long rest, one long sleep. It happened in about 3 to 4 runs, or groups or batches, whatever you want to call them, over a full night's sleep. So 8 to 9 hours in 3 to 4 different sections, right? And each section had a bunch of these different, past parallel lives. So it was like there were hundreds. It was like you had like, you know, 50, 50, 50, 50, let's say 200, right? I'm just saying there was just so many. There was just, and they went by so fast. So like, I could have like 10, experiencing 10 different parallel lives, like in just like a matter of like 15 seconds, right? So I'm like flickering through them, but I still experience it for a few seconds, this one, for a few seconds, that one. And, I'm going through a bunch of these things. Some are longer than others. And there's just so many. Um, and, so this is over 8 to 9 hours. Um, And I think, the reason for this is, the reason for this grouping is simply because it's difficult. I came up with this idea. The reason why later on after I woke up, right? I woke up and said, well, why was it grouped? Why was it grouped into these 3 to 4 segments, and not all in one shot? And then I immediately realized, oh yeah, duh. It's because it's difficult to maintain such a high vibrational state for so long, right? Even experienced channelers have a hard time with an hour or two. And I did it for 2 to 3 hours, at a time, right? 3 hours for each chunk. And then I repeat it. So 2 to 3 hours, repeat, 2 to 3 hours, repeat. And I only had a few minutes a few minutes of rest in between those chunks. So it's very intense. And that's why it's hard to do in one long shot. 8 to 9 hours of a high vibrational state is really hard on you. I mean, your jaw's locking up, you're hot, and it's really intense. So, That's why you have to do it in chunks, and then you wake up and go back into it, wake up and go back into it. I've been doing this so long that it's really easy for me to kind of go back into any sort of conscious state of consciousness, deep seated, or any sort of deep seated variation, you know, past lives or akashic records or any sort of state of consciousness. I can kind of just tap into it again. I can restart it. So I did that, and at the end of the second to last batch, right? Second to last batch. So if there are four, this is number three. I learned end of the third batch, uh, that the place I was in was in fact a simulation, right? This was a deep-seated conscious state. And this state of consciousness was really deep-seated, right? I mean, meaning that it was just like the feeling how it was here, this waking state here, that real. Um, the city, the city in this simulation at this point, at the end of this last batch, the city was so strange. I had to ask this Asian girl, and she was a city working girl, right? I call her sort of like, I guess you call her a prostitute, a city working girl on the street, if this was a simulation, because right before I had this instinctual feeling somehow, I just I just knew something was odd, and I screamed, escape. I said, escape, escape, and I guess this deep and this was a teaching moment, right? My soul's giving me a teaching moment, saying you're going to be in this simulation now, and this character, you're gonna be this parallel self, but you're gonna also realize that it's a simulation, and then have this play out, and it would slowly over from there to the very end, which I'll get to. I was supposed to realize the meaning behind faith, vibration, and simulations. Um, and so I screamed escape, and I saw a flash in the sky. Okay, and then that was what I remember when I was telling her how do I escape this assimilation. When I was asking her how do I escape this simulation, I remember that memory just prior. I asked her how do I escape, and she laughed. You can't. And I said, what do I have to do to escape? And do I have to kill myself? Do I kill you? I know. I said, kind of jokingly. She laughed and said, sure. And, she said it as if, like good luck trying to escape. I then asked her to come with me, and she said she would love to. She said she would love to, and then she also went on to say, um, uh, well, yeah, she said, I asked her to come with me, and she said that she would love to, and went on to say that African guys are the hottest, and I was wondering what that even meant. I don't know why she said that. And so, but it caused me to turn and look into the glass door of the store next to me to see my reflection. Because I was like, why did she say that? And then right when she said that, I turned to see my reflection, because at that moment, as I was looking at my reflection, I realized, oh yeah, I'm probably not. Usually, when this happens, it means, oh yeah, I'm experiencing a past parallel life, parallel self. What I see on the outside is just the identity, the ego, but the person who is experiencing it is the soul. So I turned this on my reflection. Yes, I was indeed, an African guy. I was very surprised, but not surprised, right? I go, oh yeah, that's right. It's a parallel self. Um, and then so that was that. But then there was this. That was the first introduction to like this simulation concept. And then on the last batch, which is the last 2-3 hours, it was nothing but about this whole simulation, right? It was completely about simulations. It was like a huge download about how simulations work and how they run, um, you know, and I was sort of running through it and experiencing what it's like to go from not knowing it's a simulation to knowing it's a simulation, and then how to overcome the simulation and how to work with it. Um, it was like, so this final batch is where I understood what this was all about, right? What the entire night was all about. It was about giving me hints about waking up. in the simulation, right? From this incarnation realm. My higher self and my guides, they were gently telling me that I need to fully realize that this is a simulation. This earthly incarnation is a simulation. It's just a game, and I can wake up anytime. And that once I do, I'm going to have greater access to my higher self and abilities. And this means things like advanced healing of myself and healing of others, and many other gifts. Right? Their goal, I say their meaning higher self and guides, their goal wasn't only to wake me up, but to get me to realize the importance of faith. Like I said before, the importance of faith, right? And it was that you cannot escape, break, hack, or take advantage of the simulation or this earthly incarnation realm until you have complete, and I say complete, faith that you are indeed in a simulation. Right? You need 100% faith that you are in a physical realm created by spirit for you to have greater control over the realm, meaning over the simulation. But you also understand, you also have to understand that when in a higher vibration, right, you are closer to source, right? You are closer to love. And that means faith and love are linked or intertwined. Right? Having faith alone, right, raises your vibration. Faith alone can help you raise out of a low vibration. Love expands, and faith is the act of reaching out and beyond. Faith expands out. It reaches out. It reaches outside itself, just like love does. And also, faith is important because there is no way scientifically, right? No way scientifically we could ever prove this is a simulation created by spirit or that it is an incarnation realm. There's no way science can prove that. The only way is faith. So it was because of this I now understand the power of faith. And it's, and here's another way of looking at it, that there are always more truths than can be known, right? From the book Gödel Lesher Bach, right, by Douglas R. Hofstadter, right? Gödel's incompleteness theorem, right? Because even the math says that, something says something to this effect. It says that we cannot, Kurt Gödel's math, the incompleteness theorem, says that we cannot ever know we cannot ever know all truths within a consistent, internally consistent system, right? A complete axiomatic, right, set of formal logic, a system like that, cannot know itself completely without a third party or external party or factor proving it so. We need others to prove you. You need others to prove you exist, and they need others to prove they exist. You will always need something outside the system to prove the system exists. System meaning realm. Remember that, right? You will always need something outside the realm to prove the realm exists. The realm itself cannot prove the realm exists. An eternally consistent system cannot prove its own existence from within itself by itself from its own logic. An external part, piece, factor, party is necessary to make the final proof. But this, right, this repeats for infinity, right? Thus the reason for faith in the external party to prove the system, the simulation, the realm, the incarnation realm, right? You need that. You need to have something outside the realm to prove the realm, even according to mathematics, right? Because any complete axiomatic set of formal logic, a system like that cannot 100% prove itself. There will always be more truths within this system that can't be solved by itself. You would need something else outside it, a system outside it to prove that last little bit within this system, that this system exists. So, we need, this realm is with, this finite realm is within the infinite, right? So that, the infinite proves the finite. Okay. Even the math says so. because the math says it goes on for infinity, right? The infinity proves the finite, right? Because a complete axiomatic set of formal logic, right? Internally consistent set of formal logic is a complete set, right? It's a finite set, but it always will have something in it that can't be proved within it till it has something outside of it, and that keeps going out, right? So this system here needs something else outside of it, and that system needs something else outside of it, and it goes on forever. And so that's infinity. But you have to have faith. Even the master, you can't. You have to have a system outside of it, right? So within the system, you'd have to have faith that it can be proved if he had a system outside. So you need the external system, right? You need the ultimate reality, heaven, whatever you want to call it, to prove that the incarnation realm simulation exists, right? The simulation cannot prove the simulation. That means that science will not ever be able to prove that this is a simulation from within the simulation. You have to have faith that there's something outside the simulation to prove it's a simulation, right? So that's part of faith here, right? So in the end, I was able to see the underlying code, the mathematics, the energy and vibrations of reality while in this deep state. And it wasn't a lucid dreaming state. I was in a high vibrational state, right? This wasn't theta slash, beta lucid dreaming. This was, a deeper, much deeper vibrational state, say deeper and higher. I was in, gamma frequency. I was in a deep-seated conscious state where I was totally enveloped by the reality, just as real as waking state reality is right here, right now. So because of this, it wasn't easy to simply know I was in a dream. They dream loosely here, right? I was in I was tapping into these records, alternative state, consciousness of being, because when you're in this, when you're in a beta conscious state, what I call a lucid dreaming state. So when you are aware that you're dreaming while you're dreaming, you are becoming closer to this waking state, and you're not vibrating very high, But when you're in a deep-seated dream, deep-seated state, your mind, the fragment of yourself that is in the bed, that consciousness is not fully aware that it's in a different state. It's somewhat conscious that it's aware, right? It's somewhat aware. It's not fully aware. When you're fully aware within the dream, you wake up. When you're a little aware, you're in a deep-seated dream. So I was experiencing this while in a very deep-seated dream, just slightly aware that I'm dreaming, right? And this was very important for me to be in that state, because I was supposed to be able to escape the simulation while only being very, slightly aware that I was conscious, or not even conscious at all, right? Basically, I needed to be able to wake up while in a similar state as waking reality, a state that tries to convince you that you are awake when you are in fact still in a simulation. I needed to be able to experience what it's like to wake up within a simulation this real. While you're listening to me right now, or watching this video, how hard is it for you to believe this is a simulation? It feels pretty convincing, doesn't it? It looks real, feels real, smells real, tastes real, right? But like the Matrix says, like, what is reality? Just because it tastes and you have the senses, it means it's real, right? So it's very convincing. So it's very hard for you to get your mind around saying that it's a simulation and it's not real, or it's just, it's real in a sense that it's happening, but it's not real in a sense that it's physical, because physicality isn't real. Everything is just energy and vibration, right? So it's not really real, right? Even scientifically, we know it's not real. These objects, right? This is physical matter, right? Physical matter. But what is matter? What did Einstein say, right? E equals mc squared, right? energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, right? So we know that this is just energy, right? E equals mc squared. So we know this physical thing is really just energy. So it's an illusion. But how aware are you and of this simulation, of that concept, that you can say, you know what, we're not matter, we're just energy. But can you jump from that one side of the equation to the other? Can you jump from being in the matter mind to the energy mind and say, you know what, we're just energy, and really understand that and believe that and have faith that we actually truly are? And also that you need to have faith that there are things outside of this thing, has to be there. Something outside of this has to exist for this to exist. You see, based on the math, what you're experiencing right now can only exist if there's something outside of it that proves it exists. What does that mean? That means something necessarily has to exist outside of this to prove this exists. Otherwise, this system, no matter what, can never prove itself. No science, no math, nothing within this system can prove it exists. This system, maybe you can prove another person exists, but can you prove this whole entire physical Earth existence exists? By using the Earth in this existence? No, you have to have something else outside of it, right? Outside of this physical universe, we call it, right? You have to have something outside of it to prove the physical universe exists. You know, and that's sort of the scientific way of looking at it. But for me, it's more of the spirit look at it. This incarnation realm, this physical realm, dual realm, it absolutely needs something outside of it, right? And that means you need faith, because you can't know from within inside. There's no way to prove it. So you have to have faith that of something greater. Now, what does that matter? Well, let me just talk a little bit more about this Kurt Gödel here, right? Going back to the mathematician Kurt Gödel, which is within Gödel, Escher, Bloch, the book, the realms, these incarnation realms are like the formally constructed, internally consistent logic sets that need, right, these external parties to prove it exists and to prove the final proof of its existence. Because within the realm, there will always be more truths than can be known, right? From within the system, or in this case, within the realm. It takes more, and it takes more than just faith when transcending the simulation. Okay, this is the end part here. It takes more than faith to transcend the simulation. It takes a high vibrational state. And this is just like I was when I was breaking free at the end of this last chunk of Parallel Lives, last set of the 8 hours. I had to have a high vibrational state to allow it to happen, right? For the unconscious link to be created to spirit, to my higher self, guides, and so forth, right? Faith was required to surrender to the third party outside to raise above the simulation or realm. You cannot be above the realm or take full advantage of the realm, until you link with the ultimate reality that it exists within. Okay, so if there's this Earth, for example, incarnation Earth realm here, you can't. This is a simulation, right? You can't be like Neo and raise above the simulation, right? Neo is above the simulation, right? He can see the underlying code and control it and do things that people within the simulation can't, right? He's raising above it. How is he able to do that? Because he is able to be awake and understand it's a simulation. But how do you do that exactly? Well, you have to be connected to something outside of it. It means you have to be awake, right? Neo was aware he was in the chair, right? And it's just a simulation, right? He's aware of that, and he's doing it. Right? He's aware that this is just a game, a simulation. And he's able to fully raise above that. And so for us to do that, it's not simply saying, I believe there's a third party out there. There's more to it. There's two parts to it. Okay. You you have to really raise your vibration, right? Faith helps, but you raise your vibration, meaning being in this state where you are right now and just having faith isn't enough. You need to be in a high vibrational state. Um, and usually that happens naturally when you fall asleep and you go to theta and then you go to gamma sometimes, right? Usually theta before you pass out and go to delta, go to delta. Um, um, so you need to be able to have a high vibration so that it opens a port to spirit, right? It's like, so having a high vibration opens is saying that I'm at, you can think about it this way. Here's the spirit vibration, right? Very high vibration, the ultimate reality, very high vibration. This is where you are in the earth realm, down here, right? If you have faith, that's great. It might raise it a little bit, but it's not going to be able enough to connect up here. You need to be at a high vibration. That's good. Now you're at the same level as the ultimate reality. And not only that, you need to be able to now link it. So just because you're at the same level doesn't mean it's linked. In order to link it, you have to have faith. And that's what links it. So you have to have faith and a high vibration, right? Low vibration and faith, it may raise a little bit, but you're always down here. You can't really link it. You have to have a high vibration and have faith, and then you're linked. Right? So once those two things happen, then you can break free of the simulation. That's how you can start healing people and healing your own body. Things that other ascended masters have done and throughout history, such as Jesus and so forth. And that we see even today, we see other people online, that we've seen online that, the people are healing each other. And they're doing it because they're tapping into their higher self, via getting into a high vibrational state, a meditative, they call it meditative high vibrational state, while having faith. And then they can heal. And that's what's really important. You can't just go around saying, I have faith and start healing people. You need to be able to be in a high vibrational state. And when you're in a high vibrational state, right, what does that mean? You're closer to ultimate reality. And ultimate reality is the frequency of unconditional love, which means you're in a frequency of unconditional love, no fear. Okay. And you're tapping into the ultimate source. And when you link and you have faith, that's when the connection is made. It's like, I'm ready to perform, but I can't perform, but I haven't got the materials to perform yet. And you get all the material, all the information necessary, all the knowledge to make it happen by making that link and having faith and calling out to the party outside, saying, okay, I'm now, in a state where I'm ready to receive, the information and power from the outside party, but you have to call the outside party. So first get in that high vibrational state, that gamma frequency state, and then say, okay, party outside this realm, please, connect with me and flow through me so that I can heal. Give me all the power so that I can heal. Right? So those things have to happen. So if you want to transcend this realm, within this realm, right, be able to heal yourself and others, right, and possibly many other things that I'll be testing out soon. So as you know, everything I say, I practice what I preach, what I say. So I'm going to be learning how to tap into a high vibrational gamma state while walking around and in this waking reality, because usually you can only do it while you're sleeping, right? And when I'm in these deep states of consciousness while I'm sleeping, I can do it, but I want to be able to, not only heal myself while sleeping, I want to be able to heal others, and heal myself while in a waking state, right? Be able to just sit on the couch or in a park and just get into high vibrational state, and then have faith and connect and heal myself. But I want to be able to heal others as well, right? Go up to family members and friends and others and just put my hand on, their wound or whatever it is, and get into that high vibrational state, have faith, and heal them, literally heal them. That's something that I'll be working on, and I will, of course, be, sharing the results of those experiments. as well. So that's it for today. Hope you got something out of it. Have a great day, guys. I love you all, and till next time.